Good morning, and thank you for joining us on our new product webinar brought to you by AE Solar. Before we begin, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please notify me by typing in the questions section of your control panel on the right side of your screen and press send. We will have a Q&A session following the presentation. You are more than welcome to submit questions throughout the presentation, and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible as time allows after the presentation. There will also be a brief survey that will pop up in a new window immediately following the webinar. If you could take a couple minutes to complete it, we will email you a copy of the presentation. If there are no questions, which it looks like we're good, I'd like to introduce our presenter today, AE Solar's very own Senior Manager of Product Management and Technical Sales, Josh Brister. And Josh, I'm going to go ahead and pass the presentation over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Erin. Let me get set up here. Excellent. All right. Well said. Happy Friday, everybody. This is a Friday that is a longstanding tradition at AE, and that's Solar Appreciation Day. So it's a day we like to take some time and appreciate the outdoors and appreciate the sun and this great world we get to live in. So hopefully you guys aren't working quite too hard today, and you got some good weather. If you've got to be out working, that you got good sunshine in your face and the wind at your back. So we are here to talk about a new product showcase. So this is something we do usually about twice a year. And it's just a great opportunity for me to kind of round up and make sure everybody's in the loop on all of the new things we've launched over the past couple quarters. Get all the new stuff in one place and make sure that you guys know why it came out, what the features are, if it's going to be the right fit for your installs in your area. So with no further ado, let's dig in. And we'll cover an agenda. So just a little bit of background on some market statistics. Some of the things driving these new products, why are they being brought to market? Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty details of what's new at AE, what we've launched, what we're carrying, and how it might be a good fit for your business. Man, lovely install shot here from Colorado. Just feels like those homes are built right up to the edge of that mountain. Love to see it. So what's driving innovation? In a word, or I guess two words here, I would distill this down to storage and power. So some great data here from Energy Sage. If you guys aren't using Energy Sage as a lead source, certainly understand that. If you're not doing that though, definitely recommend checking out their solar market overviews. So this is some data that's available for free. Gives you some snapshots on, what are average system sizes in each market, what are the prevailing system prices in each market, what kinds of things are people asking for, what kind of modules are actually selling. So great data that I like taking a look at, just to make sure we're kind of up on the trends and we understand, what kind of systems are being quoted and, what kind of prices are winning in these competitive markets. So I've got here some data from, the top 10 states that Energy Sage has data on, and we're looking at system size. And it's kind of a mix of some states the systems are getting larger and some states they're getting smaller. If you were to take an unweighted average here, you'd say systems are actually getting a little smaller, based on 7 of the markets being smaller and 3 of them being larger. So on average, systems are not getting larger in most major markets. It is interesting to look at the average percent offset. I was surprised by that of just how high the offset averages are in some of these markets. So while systems are not getting larger, the modules being used in those systems are getting into the higher power formats. So what they've done here is taken a breakdown of watt class buckets, and then by vintage, by survey vintage, what's being quoted. And I've been at AE Solar since fall of 2016, and at that point, the first product I helped launch at AE Solar was the REC 290 TP2M. So this was a 290 watt, what we would call a high runner or a volume module, and it was the first time that we'd carried an REC module that had broken past the 285 watt threshold. I think you'd be hard pressed at this point to find a 290 watt module for use in any kind of normal system. I'd say that I was thinking about pulling some averages here and just kind of ran out of time this week. But if you were to look at a weighted average of the modules we sell, it'd probably be a 335 at this point. So in the span of 4 years, we've gone up 45 watts. You look here at what's actually being sold and quoted in the orange bars, and the most popular watt classes are going to be 320 to 330. And really, if you look at this data, it skews to the right, where almost nothing is being quoted less than 300 watts, and you're getting a lot of systems now in the 360, 370 watt range. So, say all that to say, part of the reason that you're going to see some of the products you do in the showcase is we need better power electronics to handle these higher wattage modules. We need higher powered inverters, higher powered charge controllers. We need products that will pump out not just more system watts, because we saw on the last slide that the average system size is not really growing, but they are becoming more efficient, and we're getting more wattage out of the same square footage, so more module area efficiency. So that's the power side of the equation. The other thing we talked about was storage. It's been a long-standing trend, and we keep marching towards a future where majority of our systems are going to be quoted with, and hopefully sold with storage included. So again, I've got some data here from Energy Sage. The chart on the right shows what percentage of solar shoppers are interested in storage quotes, and you see it's a little surprising, the breakdown here. You would think that the highest levels of storage interest would be areas with really high peak rates for self-consumption in TOU, like California. And yes, to a certain extent. You'd also think that you'd see the highest percentages in areas with inclement and kind of disaster weather, and you see that somewhat in the Northeast. Interestingly enough, that the market with the highest percentage of interest in storage is actually Georgia. So this is data through the first half of 2020, and I suspect when they come out with some new data again, we're going to see probably higher numbers in California due to the rolling blackouts. We're almost certainly going to see a spike in Texas due to their recent struggles with inclement weather and kind of prolonged freezing conditions. On the left, when we start to break down, why are consumers interested in storage? It's resilience, it's energy security, kind of what I would say is the warm side of the equation, rather than the real analytical, rational side of the equation with economics and time of use rates, et cetera. You see here self-supply and financial savings, figure into the equation, but the resiliency and the security seems to be the driver so far on interest and sales of storage. So just a little bit of background there that kind of helps paint the picture of maybe why some of these products are coming to market, and what needs and use cases they target. All right, so first product up on our slate of new products is Solarc. So this is a product that's been out in the market since early 2017 in one form or another. This is a product that's Solarc comes to us from Texas. It's designed, supported, and really I can't say built in the US necessarily, but designed and supported out of Texas by folks who know power electronics, folks who are local. And in putting these slides together and meeting with Solarc, they've got a local team of tech support that answers the phone 7 days a week, 9 to 5:30 Central Standard Time. So these are folks that understand our local market here. This is not something that was, bred for Australia or Germany and, kind of hastily adapted to the U.S. market. These are folks that know this U.S. market and understand how to support the product. So what is it, you ask? So this is an innovative design hybrid inverter that, in my words, blends high efficiency hybrid inverter with the capabilities you'd typically see in an MPPT charge controller. So basically everything in an all-in-one short of the battery. So you're going to get, again, the features of a high performance hybrid inverter, like fast switching time, like good grid tie efficiency, really good high capacity backup, as well as 3 MPPT inputs, and lots of string sizing flexibility. So I'll walk through some of the features here. And this first one here, low power draw at idle or standby. This seems a little trivial, but boy, when you're in a backup situation and you don't have a grid to rely upon, and you may or may not have solar resource that day, reducing this idle standby draw is a big factor. So if you add up this 60 watts over an entire day, that starts to be significant. If you're looking at something that's going to draw, we've seen products out there that have like 200 watt standby draw. So, big savings there, just in terms of, parasitic loss. So 2 power ratings, they've got an 8K and a 12 kW version, both of which can handle up to a 20 kilowatt peak for 5 seconds. And I don't have the 30-second ratings here, but they're pretty robust as well. So when we talk about, storage for backup applications, this is one of those, not often enough considered ratings. So what are the peak kW ratings going to be? What are the surge ratings? What is this unit actually going to be able to run and turn on? So, when you think about backup applications where, the homeowner's really interested in backing up a well pump or an air conditioner, this is the type of product that's going to handle those startup surge loads, and be able to provide that, dare I say, whole home backup, without struggling, without all sorts of, soft starts and shutdown devices. Other things about this product: 10-year warranty, capable of AC coupling with, call it standard phase shift, closed loop comms capable with Discover, Simplify, and many other batteries out there. So, not just capable of powering standard lead acid, but a lot of the prevalent lithium ion brands out there. NEMA 3R outdoor rated, so this is an improvement they've made since that initial launch in 2017. Mentioned 3 input strings, color touchscreen interface. So my images don't do it much justice here, but lots of good monitoring and settings capability there through that screen. And would be remiss if I didn't call out, this was a top storage product by the folks at Solar Power World in 2019. So very happy to have added these 2 inverters to our portfolio. I don't have the breakdown here, but we have it on our AE Express website. It is rapid shutdown capable through use of the AP Smart Rapid Shutdown devices, and you will also need a shutdown initiator button from IMO that we have available as well. So really happy to have that. Happy to answer any questions on that product as they come up. Another big launch we're happy to announce here, and that's ResuPrime from LG Energy Solution, formerly known as LG Chem. So whole new platform for high density lithium ion storage. Those of you that have been around a while, that have worked with us for a while, remember we launched LG Chem Resu in late 2016. This was actually the second generation of Resu product. Generation 1 was launched in Australia a few years prior. We launched Resu as just kind of Resu. We left out the Gen 2. This is actually now Prime being the third generation of Resu product, and they've made a ton of incremental and pretty substantial improvements on that product with what they've brought to the market here in 2021. All of this is based around a new JH5 cell. So that's that thing in the upper right that kind of looks like a stick of gum. These are the actual lithium ion cells that get strung together in series to get the voltage up, and then in parallel to bring up the current. This is where the magic happens, so to speak. So leveraging a brand new cell from the folks at LG in an enclosure and a package that brings a lot of other improvements as well. So we'll talk about the cell. Just that cell density itself is up. Density, what we mean by that is energy per volume, by unit of volume. So the cell density is up 7.8%, and the pack energy density is up 20%. So more energy out of each cell, and then they've figured out smarter ways to package it. I say package, not just the enclosure, but also the electronics and things like heat sinks, etc. Pack density is up 20% as well. Interestingly enough, for those of us that are concerned about sustainable supply chains, cobalt content. So cobalt's one of those elements that found in pretty rare form across the globe, and not always in the most friendliest of places. So cobalt content is down 37%. So a more sustainable product as well. Round trip efficiency is up to 90%. So that's one of those things that on the surface maybe you don't think about too much. But if you're in an environment where you're going to be running off backup for prolonged periods, or you're really concerned about kind of the overall efficiency of your ecosystem, that's up 3% from 87 to 90. So they've cut the losses by something like 20%. Warranty is up as well. So previously the Resu 10H had been warranted for 60% of nameplate capacity at the end of the 10th year. They've increased that to 70%. So 10% increase, or 16 basis points, however you want to break that down. As a supply chain guy, let me tell you, one of the things that I'm most happiest about is we've got one battery now. One 10 kilowatt hour nominal, one 16 kilowatt hour nominal, that will work for both Type R and Type C communication. So Type R being RS485 or Modbus, Type C being CAN bus. So one common battery platform with communications that are supported on either platform, and also one battery for both primary and secondaries. So again, as a supply chain guy, in theory, we would have had to have stocked 4 different SKUs to fulfill all the use cases met by this new platform. So very happy for that. And this will hopefully open the doors to some of the inverter companies that are CAN bus based and really never got traction on that collective solution. So let's dig into the actual two models. Prime 16. This is the first one launched, so this is a higher power storage option targeting partial home and whole home backup. We have these available today. And there is a certification test that's been emailed out to anybody that had been an approved certified installer on the second generation product. You should have received notification that this new test is available. So we're able to ship these to certified installers. The 16 kilowatt hour unit is stackable up to 2 units. So 32 kilowatt hours of storage, of usable storage, and up to 14 kW of, call it capacity, power capacity. 352 pounds total. So that feels like a lot. That's really heavy. However, I'm going to switch back one slide. And modular construction. So you know, they read the room, so to speak, and realized that, you know, a 220-pound 10 kilowatt hour nominal battery was doable with the use of handles and, you know, 2 strong guys to hang it on the wall. However, for a 16 kilowatt hour battery, you know, it's not going to be feasible to have a, you know, a 4-person lift on a job site. So they made a modular construction here, and really what you've got is a base plate that's going to go on first, combination base plate and wall bracket. Then you're going to nest the 2, I shouldn't call them cells, but the 2 modular batteries will sit on top of that base plate. And the last thing to go on is going to be the top unit, which has all the power electronics, BMS, communications, etc. Prime 10, so smaller option for partial home backup in a tighter footprint. The Prime 10 is going to be available late Q2 through AEE. These are stackable as well, 19 kilowatt hours, 14 kW of power. This has actually gone up a little bit over the previous option. My understanding is the increased weight is due to, you know, you've got 2 smaller enclosures now for each of the 2 batteries rather than 1 kind of stainless wrap. The 10 is wall mount and floor mount capable. The 16 is floor standing only. And for those of you eagle-eyed viewers, I do have the images here kind of reversed. So I've got Resu 10 Prime here under Prime 16 and Prime 16 here under Prime 10. I'll get that fixed before we send these slides out. Very happy to see the Prime solution here hitting the market in 2021, just in time for call it the high season of storage installs. Phase Ensemble. This is a product that is not necessarily new. We started getting these into stock in, I think, September of last year. But given that this is the new product showcase and we haven't done one of these in a while, I really wanted to make sure this made the docket here. This was a really eagerly awaited product that myself and Glenn, and if you guys haven't had the pleasure of working with Glenn, I encourage you to reach out to Tech. We had the pleasure of visiting the Phase labs in, I think early 2018, seeing this product perform in a lab setting, seeing how robust and you know, how much forethought went into the interface and switching mechanisms, etc. So we're really happy to have this on the shelf. For those of you that aren't aware, it's a modular storage system. There's a 3 kW and a 10 kW system size. I've got the 3 kW pictured here. So what you get in the 3 kW format is, this is pictures taken straight from our warehouse. In the lower section here, you're going to have actually, you know, the chemical storage, which is an LFP chemistry, and then up above you've got 4 IQ8 inverters that work to convert that, you know, chemical DC storage into usable AC power. So an AC coupled storage solution, modular in nature. There's some redundancy built in here with the use of microinverters rather than one, you know, kind of standalone inverter charger. Each of these 3 kW units is meant to nest inside of this 3 kW enclosure. Also in the 10 kW unit, you'll actually see 3 of these as well, however, with a larger enclosure. And really the enclosure here is pretty simple. It's basically just a cover and a backing plate and a bracket to hang these modular battery units. So pretty innovative the way they've designed that. The other, you know, really key component to this solution here is the smart switch. So the pictures don't do this justice. It's a little larger than it appears here. But this is where all of the switching and load support occurs. So you've got two versions of this, with and without a main breaker. So depending upon whether you're going to put this between the main and the loads, or whether you're going to put it kind of upstream ahead of the main panel, you know, that'll dictate whether or not you want that main breaker installed. Also have provisions here, kind of hard to see in our image here, but provisions here for putting the backup load breakers in the smart switch itself. So pretty happy that pretty happy to see them, kind of think through that. Again, we've got this on the shelf. We've got the 3 kW and the 10 kW versions, and have seen quite a few of these fly off the shelf already. More supplies are coming in every week, and if you haven't given this a shot, or at least worked up some quotes through us, we're happy to do that for you. This is a product that covers both the power and the storage aspects of our platform here today. The Schneider Electric MPPT 100-600. So that's a mouthful, but this is an incremental improvement to the MPPT 80-600 charge controller that Schneider Electric launched in, I think, 2012. So through the use of some more robust components and some great engineering, they're able to squeeze a little bit more power out of that same frame. So you've got a solar charge controller now that's capable of up to 6 kW of charging power. So 100 amps at 600 volts, thus 6 kW. Still maintains that really wide MPPT window, so 195 to 510. And obviously the unit will operate all the way up to 600 volts DC. Same stringing flexibility up to 2 strings. One thing that's Schneider's been good at kind of incrementally improving year after year is their monitoring and control capabilities through Insight. So I've linked here to the Insight homepage where you can see demos, where you can sign up. Really a robust platform for again, monitoring and control settings on the entire Schneider Electric line. Encourage you guys to check that out, and rapid shutdown capable with their MS disconnect device. We'll keep rolling along here. IQ7A. So with great power comes more great power. Tried to be a little coy with my subheadings here. I was thinking about Spider-Man. So we talked a little bit at the beginning about system sizes may not be getting much larger, but the modules being used are. The IQ line, when it launched with IQ6 and IQ6 Plus, had a 250 and a 295 volt amp or watt microinverter, which, for the modules at the time worked great. IQ6 Plus, IQ7 Plus, were used on really a small minority of modules. We've almost seen the inverse now, where I'd have to check the numbers, but I feel like we're selling more IQ7 Plus than IQ7 at this point. As modules have grown in capacity and watt class, so too have the microinverters. So now, we've got 370 and in some cases 375 watt modules on the shelf. You just need more power. So the IQ7A brings a lot more. Big improvement over the IQ7 Plus, 349 watts or 349 volt amps for continuous power. So that's enough to run a 435 watt module at a modest 1.25 DC AC ratio. 97% CEC efficiency. So you're handling a ton of power just as efficiently as ever. The strings are still rated for 20 amp breakers. So 16 amps continuous, you're going to be able to get 11 of these per circuit. And they do come 18 per box. So if you are using those, higher wattage Alpha or LG, or if you've got, small commercial using 72 cell modules, this is the perfect microinverter for that application. Speaking about more power, so Discover's got some really interesting stuff we'll be bringing you later this year for mobile and even small scale stationary storage. One of the incremental improvements they were able to make over the past 6 months was a higher capacity, call it smaller battery. So they still have a 6.65 kW AES battery. They've also been able to squeeze a little bit more power out of the small format. What used to be a 2.8, they've now gotten all the way up to just about 3 kilowatt hours. So same 40-pound format and enclosure. You still get all the same features around BMS, high quality terminals, etc. But they're all the way up to 2.92 usable kilowatt hours. Some of the great things about this format and this chemistry, less than 3% self-discharge. So I was really surprised about that. That's one of the reasons we're able to stock this battery, is that you know, we can have these on the shelf for a month or two and not have to worry about them being degraded or charging them. Also, if you've got applications that are seasonal in nature, where, you know, summer cabin or winter cabin, you're not going to have to worry about the battery killing itself during the off season. I mentioned here, same great BMS and closed loop communications via link, up to 100% depth of discharge. It's sometimes I have to take a step back and remember that, you know, some of the things we take for granted, that we're just not an option in my early days of solar. 100% depth of discharge. It seems pretty commonplace now, but yeah. So plug and play multi-battery paralleling. You still have that 10-year energy throughput warranty. And then the charge rates. So this is, you know, again, one of those things we're kind of taking for granted now, but we're able to charge at 1C continuous and discharge at 1C continuous all the way up to 3C peak. Again, you know, if you wanted that kind of performance out of a lead acid battery, you'd have a small closet worth of lead acid storage to be able to support those amp ratings. So just some more incremental improvements from Discover. And again, you know, we've got some new lines launching that we're going to be happy to tell you about here in a few months. All righty, so the last product here is actually the first name in high efficiency modules, and that's REC Alpha. So we've been telling you guys about these for a while now, and oddly enough, you know, I spoke a little bit earlier about the fact that the REC 290 TP2M was the first big module launch that I worked on. So you know, REC went from a TP2 lineup that featured half cut or split cell polycrystalline technology. They leapfrogged a couple of different technologies with Alpha. So a heterojunction N-type that went from, you know, in my opinion, REC went from being a kind of a value player to really leading the market in the tech portion of modules. So the heterojunction does a couple things that, you know, cuts down on the parasitic losses on the, you know, soldering junctions between cells, and the N-type cells really are just going to be more efficient overall, going to have you know, virtually no light-induced degradation, and then kind of combined in a frame and a wrapper that has 30mm frame with dual crossbars. Gives you a couple of things there. So the crossbars are going to give you higher wind and snow loading capabilities. The fact that they've dropped all the way down to a 30mm frame means we can ship more mods on the same pallet for lower transportation costs. And in a nice development for I guess both AE and our customers, these stack horizontally. So it seems like one of those small things, but when you've got them in a warehouse, the horizontally stacked modules are just easier to handle. You don't have to worry about, you know, breaking down a pallet and then down stacking them. I think about this because this is something we're going to write up in a white paper, is you know, horizontally stacked versus vertically stacked. How do you manage them in a warehouse? For those brands that still do vertical stacked modules, you know, what's a safe way to kind of break down a pallet and make sure they don't tip over and break? So again, small things that I think about here as product manager at AE. So we've currently got a selection of Alpha modules, both black on white and Alpha black formats. The black on black have been particularly hard to find in the market. We're fortunate to have some of the 370 black on black stocked in our PDC Pennsylvania warehouse right now. We've got 355 black on black stocked in both, and 365 black on white stocked in both markets. So if you haven't tried out this module, I would encourage you to to take a look. You're going to see some really high watt classes and some, in some surprisingly small footprints. That's one of the things we talked about in the past around new technology is, keep an eye on module area efficiency. That, adding more watts on a larger footprint, may be a great idea, but it's going to depend on your market, how much roof space you've got to bear, and sometimes even adding an inch or two in length or width means you're not going to fit that next row. You're not going to fit that 14th or 15th module. So sometimes the right answer is more power in a smaller footprint. That is alpha. So I've got here a table of part numbers that cover just about everything we've talked about today. Not necessarily in the order that we talked about it. The Discover lithium-ion battery, the smaller footprint, 3 kilowatt hour. All of the products needed for the N-Charge solution. So we've got the 2 batteries, the 200 amp smart switch, which is the call it the automatic transfer switch. You will need a cell modem and a comms kit for each of those installs. The Schneider MPPT 100 charge controller. We cover the IQ7A microinverter. The 2 Solarc inverter chargers that we're carrying, the 8K and the 12K. ResuPrime. Of note on ResuPrime, no more handles needed. So due to that modular design, you're not required to have handles to, I say required. We always recommended the handles on the Gen 2 product, but not needed anymore with the Prime format. And then I didn't want to post all of the different watt classes we had, but a couple of the Alpha and Alpha Black modules that we are carrying or will be carrying shortly. So that brings us to Q&A. Wanted to say thank you. Hopefully you guys are able to get out and enjoy some sunshine today. Got my contact info here on the slide, and at this point we'll open it up to any Q&A that have come in. Aaron, do we have any questions from the audience? We may have lost Aaron. Let me see if I am able to see if there's any questions that have come in. We had one on the Enphase Smart Switch. What is the breaker brand for the load breakers? Those are Eaton Cutler Hammer BR breakers. So they're standard format. They're standard 1-inch format. And we've got a selection of the different ampacity main breakers for the smart switch, as well as the 2-pole 20 amp, 30 amp, 40 amp branch breakers. At this point, I don't see any other questions. So would encourage you guys to fill out that survey. With that, we get insight into what you guys like hearing about, what we did well, what we can improve upon. And once you've done so, we will send you out a link to the slides. So thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoy a beautiful weekend, and thanks for your interest. Have a great day.